There are a lot of properties that are overpriced. I don't know what's driving that market. 20 to 15% interest on the property is not bad. No primary mortgage institution will lend money to a future project because of the uncertainty of that project. They would only buy into projects. If you're going to purchase a property, the first person that you have to consult is a legal practitioner. Then the second person.
What happens at the point where I now have invested like a head and a leg into the property, only to find out that this project was not what it really means? Are there exit plans?
Purchaser.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Real Deal Naija podcast. Here we are unbundling Africa's largest real estate market, and that is Nigeria, of course. The Real Deal Naija podcast is for you if you are a real estate enthusiast, you're an investor, you're a homeowner, or you're just interested in knowing what's up in the real estate industry, especially in Nigeria. You know, real estate has been proven to be one of the biggest and most potent wealth transfer vehicles, right? But unfortunately, we've had people getting their fingers burnt. So here with me on this table, we have people who will be providing us insider tips. They will be bringing a lot of insight into some of the questions or, you know, some confusing things that you have encountered in the process of property purchase, due diligence, and a whole lot more in the real estate industry. I have with me two amazing people, President General and a Commander-in-Chief. I have Mr. Oke with me, Mr. Okechukwu, and also Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank, can we meet you, please?
Pleasure. My name is Frank Nwabiani, CEO, a partner with Daki Homes.
Oh,
A realtor.
amazing. You're welcome.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay.
My name is Mr. Oke Onyehara, and I'm the MD, CEO of Blockhouse Group.
When I said we have senior men, President General, CEOs. Anyways, my name is Evelyn Oloyede, and I am a real estate customer relations management consultant and also a brand manager. So right now, let's just get straight into the chase, right? Let's talk about the allure of off-plan real estate purchase. You know, a lot of people will prefer to buy a property before it's done. Some want to get it already made. So who does the whole thing favors, really? Because personally, I used to think that it was just a means to raise funds for the developers, right? But then when you look at the flip side of the coin, it's also a means of capital appreciation for the investors. So both scale, it's balanced, right? The scale seems balanced, but who really does it favor, and what are the risks that we have involved in all of this?
Okay, I think there's an all-round benefit for both the developer and then the customer or the purchaser, in the sense that there are pros and cons when it comes to off-plan property purchase. In the sense that, for example, for the pros, the purchaser is given an opportunity to pay, you know, instrumentally.
Yes.
This is not something you get when a property has been finished and then you have to purchase. You have to pay the full and outright
Lump sum.
Amount for it. But in this case, you make a down payment and it is spread either for 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months. So in that way, the purchaser is not under any pressure to pull out a lump sum to own that property. And then also, there's this thing called customization options. You're now at liberty to tell how you want your house to be modeled.
Specifics.
Whether you want an open floor plan, or you want an enclosed kitchen, or you want a BQ, or the kind of tiles you want, or you want wood panels on the floor. You can customize, you know, what your house should look like. And then the cons are just so many.
Okay, so before we go into the cons, right, I want to bring it to you. You know, you're more in the customer space, being a realtor, right? So we have had situations now where he said the payment plan is really flexible, right? But then you see, I've heard situations, or I've even witnessed situations where the developer reaches out probably in another 3 months to the property handover, and he says, oh, we need more funds. Now there is the inflation aspects there. Just pick it up from the con. Where is inflation playing a major role here?
Well, actually, it's like you said, there are a lot of constraints that might come up unforeseen, maybe like construction delays in terms of funding from the developer. Okay, it could be government policies, or maybe sometimes in extreme cases, maybe weather conditions.
Okay.
Or even in the case of, recently we had the COVID experience. So those are factors that can mitigate against, come against the prospective buyer.
With the
So
timeline, okay.
and the developer too. So those are the challenges that can crop up, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so developers are often fond of, there's this thing of under promise and over deliver, right? But in a bid to sell, in a bid to market, in a bid to entice a lot of people, we give really unrealistic timelines. They come up with unrealistic specifications that at the end of the day is now a case of what I ordered versus what I got.
What I got, yeah.
What you see in the 3D is totally different from what is obtainable. So there are certain professionals, right? We're still going to talk about due diligence eventually, right? But then there are certain professionals. Who are those people that I am to go along with? I saw an advert. I want to buy the property, right? Who are those professionals that will help me vet to be sure that at the end of the day is not, a case of what I ordered? I know there's a part of, the track record of the developer. You have to be
Most
sure,
definitely.
right? Because somebody who has not really delivered, like Mr. Oke here now, we know he has delivered so many projects under the block house, right? So, in terms of due diligence for this off plan, how do I avoid, falling victim? Who are those professionals that I, as a first-time buyer, should go along
Okay.
with?
If you're going to be purchasing a property, the first person that you have to consult would be a legal practitioner. In exchange of contracts for land, the first item that moves from the seller to the purchaser is the document showing title to the property.
Yes.
And so the lawyer also has to look through this documents, and if it's registered, by registered I mean it probably has a governor's consent or a CFO. He would probably go to the Lands Bureau to confirm the authenticity of this documentation.
Okay.
And then the second person is a surveyor, because we now know that people fly coordinates.
Yeah,
A property can actually be here, but this place is not covered by an excision or is not free from what they call
Gazetting.
acquisition.
Interesting.
So they sell here with somewhere else.
Oh,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
do
they do
that.
Yeah. So you have to get a surveyor who is very experienced to pick his coordinate on site.
Okay.
And Lagos State has this geographical information software where the moment you key in these coordinates in the system, it shows you exactly where this property is. So if it correlates with what you have, with the documentation that the seller has given to you, then that's fine. And then there are so many other people that you need to engage. For example, when it comes to pricing of the property, you could also engage a QS to actually give you, or an estate valuer
Accurate,
to actually
yeah.
give you the current value of that property in relation to close properties, within proximity.
So speaking of the price now, right? I feel the real estate market is not really regulated. I'm sure most of the viewers will agree with me, right? So if the estate valuer says that this is the price, and I know some of the hassles I had to cross to develop my property, I know some people I had to settle along the way, right? Now, you are now coming to say this is the current market price, but I have factored in the other, because most times the customers will have to bear the cost of some of these things. So how really can you say that this price is really what it is, saying that there is no standardized pricing system in the real estate industry?
Well, fine. The easiest way you can also you can access Google and also do your own personal investigations. Go around the particular neighborhood. You can check for going rates. That's the easiest way to get your accurate figures in terms of pricing. So that's basically all, and that's the standard process. Since, like you rightly said, there's no proper regulation. of the industry.
Yes.
If I may come in there, from a developer's point of view, I will check the cost of acquisition of that property, the cost of development, the cost of statutory payments that you made probably to Lagos State government in terms of your approvals, your permits, your several other tests that Lagos State government runs on buildings, and then having like 20 to 15% interest
Okay.
on the property is not bad as profit, as your And then there's something called sweat equity.
Yeah.
Oh,
The rigors that you went
through,
during the development of that property. You know, these things are not
sweat equity.
intangible.
it's called sweat equity. These things are not things that you see or you can't quantify them, but they are there.
Okay.
You know, but again, you would also discover that at times is a promise of a particular major landmark coming to that area, and so on.
That's right.
Government development,
Yeah,
government
exactly.
projects, and
Exactly.
all of that.
Just like the Dangote refinery brought a lot of
Development.
Yes, it was
developments
like
and price increase around the Bejuleki area.
So now, looking at the risk factors, right? Funding primarily is one of the reasons, like you said during the intro, right?
Cost of funds.
Cost of funds
yeah.
on the part of the developer, and then on the part of the investor, he's looking at the capital appreciation, right? When people are marketing products, they said this property is estimated to bring you probably 50% rental income over the next 3 months from handover time. Are these things really true? The capital appreciation. You mentioned that sometimes you look around the environment, the going rate, right? Now, apart from the fact that I am interested in purchasing the property and return on investment is key for me.
For sure.
What happens at the point where I now have invested like a head and a leg into the property, only to find out that this project was not what it really means? Are there exit plans? What are the exit strategies for that? Or I have bought it already.
Okay, fine. That is where a lawyer comes in. You need to have a legal backup too. So he'll be able to give you better legal advice on how to go about it. Because you cannot, even the developer might be expressing some constraint, financial constraint, in terms of his funding, cost of funding and everything. So the best approach is to engage a lawyer, a property lawyer. See you through it. Maybe you'll get a better perspective from Mr. Okay.
All right, Mr. Okay.
Well, coming to projections can be
Projections and exit plan.
Yeah.
Case.
Yeah. Projections can be overestimated, they can be underestimated, depending on who you're talking to, and then the amount of information available to that person at that time.
At the time.
Like on one of our properties, we've done 650% ROI on it.
Oh.
So even when
That's amazing.
650%.
at the time when we were marketing, we underestimated the market.
Interesting.
But so many other things played roles in our underestimation. One was the Dangote refinery is the biggest single train refinery in the world. The deepest seaport in Africa is in Bejuleki, which is about 16 meters deep. There's a Lekki International Airport coming. There's also a red line, a blue line railway coming also. So most of this, and we did not even take into cognizance 133 kilometer Lekki Ekpe Expressway at that time. It was not in existence, but today we have it, and so many other factors, play roles in underestimation or overestimation in your projection. But the point is, are your projections right? And is there a course of action for the purchaser? Because the developer could also buy back that project or put it back in the market on behalf of the seller. I don't think it's a legal issue, except you've promised certain things in your contract that you have not delivered. Then it becomes contractual breach of contract issues.
Okay, so let's talk about funding options from the end of the purchaser now, right? So does mortgage really apply or cover, or is there a provision for mortgage when you're going for off-plan property, or you have to solely look for the funds yourself?
The thing is, no primary mortgage institution would lend money to a future project because of the uncertainty of that project. They would only buy into projects with good title and finished
This
products.
product, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, finished products. You have other. That's why the off-plan strategy is good, because it affords you the opportunity to own
Flexible.
a property
Flexibility.
over a long period
Flexible
of time.
payment plan. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, so it's convenient and then
Flexible.
without pressure, and the flexibility is there.
All right. Well, the off plan basically, right? So we have all agreed on this table that it's a win-win for both the developer
parties,
in terms of raising capital and also the flexibility
Payment
of
plan.
payment for the other person. And some of the pros, just as a recap, some of the pros we have examined is, the funding, access to funding for the developer, and also the flexibility of payment. By the time the
Customization.
customization
yeah.
as well, and then by the time the project is completed, right, the capital appreciation would have doubled compared to how much you bought it. And then there's also the role of due diligence, carry out specific expert surveyors, lawyers. Who else did we talk about here?
The estate valuer.
The estate valuer to make
the
sure.
realtor too.
And the realtor.
realtor,
The realtor,
They
you
usually
guys.
have,
Can't
they
undermine
usually
the
have
realtor.
They
backstories
do.
about properties.
Yes, realtors are another.
Yeah,
Don't worry, we're getting to you people soon. So, all of these are things you should consider as much as I said in my intro that real estate is the biggest vehicle for wealth transfer, is the one of the most trusted and viable
100%.
vehicle that you can use to store wealth, generational wealth, especially.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But unfortunately, a lot of people have had their fingers
Bond.
I agree.
burnt. So that is why you should always stick with us on the Real Deal Niger podcast, because with us, we are going to be giving you solid insider tips on all you need to know about real estate markets, about the pricing, a lot of building trends, and why certain things are the way they are. Stick with us at the Real Deal Niger, also known as Thread Niger. We'll see you on another interesting episode.